red spot.
Hey everybody, it's October 17th and this is the fortnightly community outreach meeting where we get together and talk about marketing efforts and how to get people talking and hearing about Backdrop. So let's see, the to-do items that we have from last week, I think we'll go over and review each one of these items. Tweets and Facebook posts about Bad Camp stuff. Jen says that you have the update on that. Do you?
This wasn't about Bad Camp stuff. I think that was from a couple weeks ago.
Oops.
Just to be in general. I noticed Tim did some tweeting, so thank you, Tim, for being on top of that. I logged into Facebook to start putting in stuff, but as Facebook just distracted me and it talked me into making an event. So I set up a Backdrop birthday party for January 15th, because obviously that's a lot more important than what we're doing right now. But I also made a reservation at the Victory Point Cafe, which is where we had the Backdrop party during Bad Camp. So I wanted to make sure I got that all set up so that we could promote that on Facebook several months in advance. But I do have an ongoing item to go back and do more regular Backdrop promotion stuff in Facebook this week. So hopefully I'll make some progress this time. Other things we talked about doing was sending a newsletter. We haven't sent the newsletter for the 114 release, but it did get pushed to Pantheon, I think, on Sunday. So it's time to start promoting that. I emailed the folks at Fast Interactive asking if they had any time this week or plans to work on the 114 release. I haven't heard anything back yet, so I think it would be good for us to come up with a plan B. And Tim, I don't know what your timeline is like this week schedule-wise, but because you're at the blog post, I thought it might be fairly straightforward for you to adapt that into the newsletter. So I just thought of another thing we need to add to the points of contact page. We should make sure everybody knows where to go to get access to MailChimp if they don't have that already. So Tim, I'm not sure if you've tried to log in there yet or not, but that might
I'm pretty sure I did. At the last meeting, I had agreed to try and do something before Bad Camp, and I failed to do that, but it is a better time now, so I think I'd like to try again.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me know if you have any trouble. This might be a good thing where we can like put those credentials into one password and start sharing them that way.
Sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do have access. I'm checking now.
Okay, great. Then next up on the list is making more videos about Backdrop. We thought it might be fun to make one for 114. I don't know, Tim, if you're going to have time to do that in addition to the newsletter, but you did volunteer to do it 2 weeks
ago. Tim has already done that and posted it 2 weeks ago.
What? How did I miss it?
There is an introduction to 1.14 video. I've tweeted about it. It's out there.
That's amazing. Okay. Do you know if it's on the Backdrop YouTube channel?
I'm pretty sure it is. I can verify that.
That is amazing. Thank you for doing all of that. I don't know how I somehow didn't notice.
Just
okay.
while we're on videos, I also did one about just a random one about a new module, Mosaic Grid. That should also be on the Backdrop channel. It's a new contrib module.
Okay, I will look these up and post them to Facebook since I need stuff to post to Facebook. So thank you for making them. And then let's see, I also did a live demo a couple weeks ago at the CMS experts group on layouts without like creating unbranded pages with layouts, and they were super impressed. And so that remotivated me to go back and do my layouts video. I've got a site now that I think I can do it with. It'll be a little bit more impressive because it's a branded site turning into an unbranded site rather than like a default Backdrop install. Which I think is going to be we're doing that one this week. I'll hope to do it today. And then we'd also mentioned it would be good to do a more comprehensive video on upgrading a theme from Drupal to Backdrop, specifically like the several pages you absolutely need to change and the ways you need to change them, and then everything else that is not required. So that could be like a half an hour thing, which is in more depth than some of these other ones that are really quickies. We'd also, I think, talked about automating that process. So if we could get it documented on how to do it, I think that would also open the door for getting more people to help with converting it into an automated process. So I'm super motivated to work on that too. But I put a question mark there because I want to do the easy one first. Another thing that was on our list from the last meeting was to create a checklist for preview releases. So I did that by copying our release for our checklist for release minor versions. But I like split a bunch of the stuff into the two of them. So things like drafting the blog post, I put into the preview release checklist instead of the actual release checklist. And then all of the promotional items like publishing the blog post went into the actual release checklist and not the preview release checklist. But it would be good to get another set of eyes on that. I mean, no, we'll use it in January when we do our next release, and that will be the real test of if we got it right or not. But it would be great to have somebody kind of look at it. How are these?
So long that we don't skip pre-releases, that sounds good to me. But if we are diligent on creating pre-releases, I mean, if for some reason we decide to skip it, then missing items from the actual release is an issue. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping we won't ever skip a preview release, but maybe what we could do is like when we do a major version release, we also have a link at the bottom that says all issues from bug fix release. We could do the same thing so that even if we skip the release, we'd still know we need to have that checklist there.
Yeah.
I'll add that. That's a good idea.
Or add the checkbox and say create whatever it was to create if not created during pre-release, something like that. If not already created. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So that was last week. So this week, a couple of those things are going to roll over, like the newsletter, tweets and Facebook stuff. And I want to do the video on layout stuff. But there's a bunch of new stuff to the list.
Real quick, the video and layout stuff. We were also talking about a virtual user group meeting that didn't happen. So I'd like to try and do that again.
Okay.
And was that the same topic, or was that slightly different? You had, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had talked about you doing something on, I don't remember if it was like porting a generic theme from like ThemeForest, or if it was porting a Drupal 7 theme. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No, but I'm happy
okay.
to do either.
Well, which of those do you want to do?
I think porting a Drupal 7 theme might be more useful for people right now because everybody's evaluating Backdrop as coming from Drupal 7. So let's start with that. And then if we want to do the like from a standard HTML template version later, we can do that.
Sounds good.
Yep. Also, listed on the newsletter is we should have a plan B. What do you mean?
Just another person to create it in case Facet's busy. So I think Tim said he had time this week.
Yeah.
So I'll put your name.
I think temporarily I'm plan B.
Yeah. Well, I think temporarily you're plan A. And only if we hear back from them, we'll change that. But
got it.
Okay. So there's a couple of new things on this. I don't know why they're here. Civi CRM is on the to-do list for this week. Does anyone here know?
I think
that's Luke.
Yeah, Luke, you muted. Yeah.
I know. I figured that. Yeah, I put that there, and actually, like 3, 4, and 5 are sort of the same idea. Basically, talking about the thing that I was talking about at the summit. That in those instances where we're aligned with an organization that has kind of gone out of its way to give us, special standing or equal standing with much bigger competitors, we should be careful not to fumble that. And there were a couple things with Civi CRM that struck me as particularly kind of on fire in that if you go to the Civi CRM site, you get a very prominent, easy way to try in Backdrop, which when you do, it then doesn't work, which is not a very good demo for either them or us. So I wanted to just sort of like keep that issue there. I pinged Jack separately about that as well. And then just sort of along that line, I was actually working with Lando yesterday, and I noticed how kind of prominently they have Backdrop offered within their product, which struck me as a good note of confidence and you know, there's nothing specific we have to do with that, but it's just nice to have there, and to the extent that we can encourage that and, you know, make that work for them, I think we should. So that's all I really had. That's, you know, 3 agenda items in like 3 minutes. That's all that was about.
So
Yeah,
how,
so
do you have any-
I added the drushcommands.com, which they also prominently have us on every page, I think at the top right, which is a really good, nice thing. So maybe we should sort of like return the favor or something.
Who does that?
Gosh, can we-
Drushcommands.com. So I have
Oh.
added that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a new player as well, which I wasn't aware of, Doxal, which is an equivalent to Lando and DDev and so on. And when you start the command that sort of like offers you options on what to build on your local, Backdrop is listed there as an option.
Oh.
Yes, and they had an outdated image, like version 1.10. And they updated it recently, like within the last 5 days, I think, or so. So bear with me. It is Shilane, if I am pronouncing the name properly. So it's a person that contributes to that project. And we coordinated. She had a few issues because there were some lingering profiles in that old version. They updated it to the latest. She started doing 1.14, but by the time she was sort of like up to publish everything, 1.14.1 got released. So she updated to that. So we have an up-to-date and working version in Doxal. So I need to give it a go. I haven't tried that first at all. So I'll try it, add steps, and then I'm going to add them to the try backdrop page on backdropcms.org. Is the list that we can do.
All right. Well, look, that's actually good stuff. So I can just, you know, pull out, you know, the things I've been trained at in marketing, and what it strikes me that we want to do is to some extent, if we know we're getting hits from these, if we know that people are like hearing about Backdrop for the first time through one of these other products, and maybe clicking on it, like we really, if possible, would like to optimize that conversion funnel. We would like it. I don't know if there's any way to tell if somebody, if somebody installs Backdrop in Lando or Doxal, it just does a GitHub pull, and that to us looks like just any other GitHub pull. Like there's nothing unique about it that tells us that it's coming from one of those, is there?
No, I don't think it is.
So I'll be the evil marketer and say, is there any way we can find out if somebody is?
Maybe Lando and DDev do pulls, but Doxal is not built yet to do it on an automated pull. What they do is they have a specific Backdrop boilerplate GitHub repo, and we need to keep that up to date, or make sure that we ping those people each time that we have a release so that they keep it up to date, or we file pull requests against it. I haven't, like C-Lane said that they plan to automate it, as in automatically pull the latest tag, not the latest head of what it is there, as in each time that we have a release, we pull the latest, but that's not implemented yet. So
do we add a release checklist to make sure they get notified?
Yes. So one of the items that I have on the Doxal in the to-do list is added to the docs procedures for releases. So okay. I'll do that. Okay. I'll be working on that over the weekend.
So it's actually a different repo that it gets pulled from in the case of Doxal? Yes. Are there stats for things like that? Like, do we know how many people clone?
No.
Interesting. Like Pantheon has a different one too. I don't think we collect stats on any of that stuff. There's also like the platform SH thing, I think uses Docker, like there's a bunch of ways that people might be using Backdrop that we would have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because the point is, if we're reaching people to get like an initial look, if there are significant numbers in any like relative sense, then we want to know how far that's getting. We want to know, you know, are they trying being discouraged for some reason? Do they get to a point and decide, oh no, this wasn't what I thought, and like go away? And that becomes the thing that we want to work on to try to keep that from happening, right?
So with Doxel specifically, it seems to me that everyone who was trying to install the outdated version was discouraged because it wasn't working, because it was outdated. So that's fixed now. And it was tested by Celine before sort of publishing and merging the pull request that updated it. But this is why I added it to the, I added an item about adding it to the procedures so that we sort of like help with that process of keeping it up to date so that people do not have bad experiences. Now, as to converting, what do you call that in marketing terms? What did you say? Converting the people that are using it into what do you call it? Prospects or?
Conversion, right? Like
conversion, yeah,
a customer, a sale, you know.
Yes. Yeah, it's not a sale in our thing, but yeah, whatever you call that. Yes. So I don't think that there's much that we can do unless the only thing that we can do in order to get stats is maybe once telemetry is implemented, if we could detect what Backdrop is running on, as in if we could detect that the Backdrop instance that the person is running is in Lando, Pantheon, Doxel, and then we have stats for that, it could be a way to measure how many people are using Backdrop via these platforms. Now, with using that, I guess it's just a matter of reaching out to the people that create those platforms and convincing them that we deserve an equally prominent space as the rest of these CMSs out there. So yeah.
I wonder if, I'm just going to throw this out. It just sort of occurring to me as we're talking about kind of trying to read the tea leaves and determine from behind the scenes what's happening. What do you think about just being more upfront about it, like asking them, like as part of our installer, have a like, tell us what you think.
Yes.
Button.
So there was a proposal that was about while the progress bar in the installer goes on to have something as demo videos of features for Backdrop and so on and so forth. And then we discussed it. So BW Panda opened that issue as a literal issue on GitHub. And then we recalled that this has been discussed before and that the actual process, and I think Tim brought it up as well, because on his local, it took like 5 minutes, about 5 minutes, he said, to install it. So there was time for something to be displayed to the user. But then I reminded everyone that, yes, we discussed this in the past. And because we were discussing about adding that to the Tagboat demo that we have on Backdrop CMS, but because the Tagboat version was spinning up in 6 seconds, it was not like we couldn't display a video of like features there, but it is enough time. And on like my local environment, it also spins up really fast, maybe because the computer is fast, I don't know. So it takes about 10 seconds. Those 10 seconds are not enough to display a demonstration of features, but it is enough time to have hey, can you donate? Consider donating if you like it, or help us, give us some feedback. We can do stuff like that because it's just there's a lot of white space and just a progress bar on top.
Well, I mean, that seems like a very fleeting moment, but how about something more permanent, like a menu item or like a link in the control panel that says, you know, got something to say, we're listening. It's not just a dead computer. There's people on the other side here. Click here, and like real people will be, you know, very interested to hear what you have to say. Like, do we have anything like that? Yeah,
because the installer, just when it finishes, it just redirects, and we need to be very careful with the links that we add there so that we don't disrupt the installer. Like we need to make sure that the links.
Gregory, you're focused on the installer. I think the problem is just, is there a way for us through the UI or any way to get feedback?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I was.
yeah. I'm not talking about the installer. I'm talking about the product, actually.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. So because the installer is, we need to be very careful with it. We now have the dashboard. We can add either to the Welcome to Backdrop dashboard a link that says provide feedback, or have a dedicated block that is actually donate, provide feedback. Yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, like it seems all sorts of things. Like do you love us? Tell us. Do you hate us? Tell us. Do you want to give us money? Tell us. Do you want to sue us? No, well, don't tell us.
We need an issue for this.
Forget that idea.
I think we need an issue for us. I think there's a number for this topic. There's a number of different ways to do it. I think it's important.
All right.
One of the really easy ways, if we get the recent news feature, right? If we had that in recent news from Backdrop, we could, like once in a while, add a survey.
Yes,
it would show up in that block, but it could be its own dedicated block. There's other ways of doing it as well. So I think let's create an issue and start brainstorming on that topic, and at least get some easy ways in.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's bigger things we'd like to get. We'd like to be able to get feedback on features. We'd like to have focus groups. We'd like to have donations and stuff like that. But at a very minimum, we just want a pulse, right? Like, is anybody out there? Does anybody hear us?
Having released a module for the first time fairly recently, one of the things that strikes me is like, I see people are downloading it, but that's it, right? I get no feedback. Nobody's opened any issues. It's like,
who are you? Why are you doing this? What do you want?
Right? Did you look at it and not like it? Did you look at it and like it? Or, it's like, I have no idea. And it's like, oh, I really want some way to get feedback.
And in particular, the one that's like bugging me is I'm worried about people going along the path and hitting some barrier that we're not focused on.
Yeah.
That we could fix easily if we knew it existed.
Yep.
And so we want to have like some kind of communication to know. Now, if we manage to scale big enough, and it gets to be that there's too much information, then we'll worry about that problem when we get to it. But that's not a problem yet.
Yeah. So look, it's a good idea, but I think that as discussed, let's open an issue. But out of like top of my head right now, I think that the dashboard seems, or a new block in the dashboard seems like a good option. And
I like it.
As we said, now that we have the dashboard, new blocks can get in even bug fix releases, like if we need them. And I'm really keen to the idea of getting feedback, either problems or just expressing an opinion of how much you love us, or how easy it was to port from D7, things like that. Or what's your top 3, the things that we're discussing, top 3 issues that we'd like to see resolved, or top 3 features that you would like to see in Backdrop, things like that.
I think once we can start some sort of conversation like that, we won't be short of ideas of like things to ask.
Yes.
All right, I will open an issue like that, and we'll call that that.
And I'll add on Gitter the one that was recently opened about doing that thing with the installer as well. So you can have something to start off of.
Okay.
Just on that topic of the different ways that people can try Backdrop, like Doxel and Pantheon and stuff, I just came across the Linode the other day, has one-click apps now set up, and WordPress and Drupal already have just set up in there. I'm not sure how it's done, whether we just ask them to do it or whether we need to provide something to have Backdrop supported as well. But I've created an issue and added it to the agenda. There's a link there, so if someone wants to look into that, if someone knows anything about that already, that might be an option for future too.
Yeah, this is another topic that has come up in the past as well. So Pantheon does not include Backdrop in the major list of options. When you start using it, you have to know a specific link to get the Backdrop option. I don't know what we can do to convince these people to include us there, but there's also a, since you mentioned one-click apps, I think that there's, forgot the name, I'm forgetting now, that I think it's included in cPanel or something like that. Like there's an option, and we do have an issue for that to add Backdrop to the sort of like that list of one-click apps.
Yeah. It's been really hard with those though, because none of them are open source. And so we don't have any way to get those groups to include Backdrop other than like emailing into a black box and being like, hey, is there any progress on this? And they're like, oh, we have an issue for it. And it's like, well, we don't really have any idea what their prioritization is. And sometimes they have really old, outdated versions of Backdrop. And we're like, hey, there's like security releases out. And they're like, not important. And so I think it's hard to push that before we have at least, you know.
Can I interrupt? I'm going to have to drop off at least for 10 minutes in a few minutes.
Yep.
This seems like a good time to acknowledge this Alta Vista hosting, which you showed up in Earths last week. And they, so for those who haven't been following that discussion, they're a hosting company that has been a Backdrop sponsor from afar since the beginning, but they've been saying that they've been seeing more and more of their clients moving from 777 to WordPress, and they want to start more actively promoting Backdrop. Have been making a commitment in Gitter to like try and contribute more. Have already been contributing to B, and I think they will be, assuming that they are able to follow through and contribute more, a great sort of vendor perspective or host perspective on like what we can do to better provide. So I think we should pay close attention to what they're doing.
Tim, who's that again?
Alta Vista.
Not Alta Vista, correction, Alta Grande.
Alta Grande, sorry.
Alta Grande, yeah.
This is a
yeah. It would be good if it was Alta Vista.
Do they still exist?
Yeah. So they sorry, go ahead.
Two of their staff have been really active in Gitter for the last couple of days, and they keep saying that others might be joining them.
Yep. Yeah, so they seem to be a security-focused hosting provider that is mainly, or at least wants to mainly have Drupal and now / Backdrop customers. And when I say Drupal 7, they mentioned how they saw people fleeing, like a massive sort of like amount of customers fleeing to WordPress because they also host WordPress and Joomla since the release of D8. And they expressed a strong feeling of wanting to retain those customers in Drupal, and that they prefer Backdrop for doing that. So
that's music to my ears. So I can't find Alta Grande. Who is it?
I just posted it in Gitter. I just posted a link in Gitter.
Oh, there we go. Thanks.
Yeah. So if you search for Alta Grande in the previous, just previous day comments, you will see it's the names that you might be looking for is Alex Shapka, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and then the other one is Alan Mells. So the first comment that initiated that was, I'm looking at that. Oh, damn it! It's probably local time. It's my time, so I won't be helpful. Maybe I can sort of like get a quick link to those replies and post it to you. Yeah, so it started by a message where Nate thanked them for filing a pull request. And then the exact words were, quick sketch, you're welcome. As Alta Grande team, we'll do our best to contribute. Using the opportunity, I'd like to thank you for coming out with the Backdrop initiative. As a Drupal-specific hosting vendor, we've been witnessing considerably massive switch to WordPress after D8's release, which is really saddening. Yeah, at the same time, Backdrop gives us a realistic opportunity to save many of those who had no other choice. But yeah.
I'm going to really quickly, I have to go right now. Maybe I'll be back before you're done, maybe not. I put a couple of quick, unrelated, but I just want to announce. DrupalCon is coming up in a couple of weeks. I have a Backdrop session on scheduled. I may do like a BOF or something as well. I did a session yesterday and I put some notes in the agenda at a local Twin Cities Startup Week, which was heavily about Backdrop. I think that went really well. If people have questions, let me know. And I will try to get the next virtual user group on the agenda. I don't know, next week or the week, well, maybe 2 weeks. That would be back on our regular schedule. Well, okay. I'll check in with you on Slack. I'll be in the developer meeting. So I'm going to tune out for now.
Okay, cool. See you in a while.
So we have a list of all of these amazing companies and organizations that are starting to promote us more. What can we do to promote them more? Like, should we build dedicated landing pages for each of these things and contact them and say like, hey, we've made a place specifically for you on our site. What do you want to promote there? And here's the URL, and kind of give them sort of more control over the branding that we might have for them. Or
No, that's good. That's one fantastic idea. What else you got?
It is. Actually, that's what
I'm
I was
asking
thinking.
you.
No, that's great. That's totally
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Do that,
so,
yes.
so I was thinking before this thing, what I just read out, before this gets lost in the time warp of Gitter, maybe
Yeah.
we should invite Alta Grande to just add that very same thing, even just copy pasting it, adding it to a section, as in sort of like, see how there's sections in other sites that says comments from our customers, and they have a slider. That, yeah. So maybe comments from supporting hosting companies, or what you call it, local dev tools.
You want to make sure, but no, that's good. As like advertising promotion, sure. I mean, comments like that would be great. You'd want to clear it with them, make sure that they're cool with that. But yeah.
Yes.
Where did you find that, Gregory?
What, the thing that I just read?
Yeah.
So it's so that's another thing. Gitter is becoming really hard to follow. So this was a back scroll from yesterday. So you might be looking at a comment from Alan Mells. So I think that, so Gitter has a search feature. So if you search for Alta Grande, you'll find it. So I think Gitter, when you do, at least the app that I have, when you do Control F on my machine, it brings up a search functionality. Telling you the time of the post wouldn't be helpful. Copy link. Let me try this. Let me try this if it works.
I don't have a Control F.
Oh yes, I just posted a link. Can you click that and see if it takes you to the? I think it does. Yeah, it does.
Hey.
Yeah. There it is.
I don't see anything from Alta Grande. That's okay. I can find it later.
Yep. So, but you see the link that I posted right now, right?
Yeah, it went to Tim's link. I gave my presentation about building a starter website. Is that...
Oh, it worked for me. Huh.
That's funny. It actually highlights the thing as well.
Oh,
So
I think what it is that I don't have that history. So it only goes up to like the top of what I have, and then it stops.
Oh.
Are you using the app?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So I'm using Station, which integrates it, and I think it does the web app thing, the sort of like using the hooks or whatever. You can do a screen share if you like.
Yeah, I think, yeah, let's save it somehow. Maybe just copy paste the text and throw it somewhere, because I would like to contact them and ask them if it's okay if we use that for something. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but when we figure it out, it would be good to get their permission.
Yes, and give them the opportunity to add whatever they like promote themselves shortly as, yeah. Yep, I'll do that. Actually, I'll start look, can you help me out and start an issue about that? And then I'll add the text to, there you go, thank you. I think it's best to be in the Backdrop CMS ops/backdropcms.org view.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, because it's like for our site, it's not for the product itself. Okay, so
a testimonial section.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was searching for.
We had one of those before from the very beginning, and we just didn't have enough content to keep it like up to date. So we should come up with some way to put it on our site where like every time we get something new, we can like highlight it for like a period of time, and then like use the like scheduler thing or something to like remove it if it's like 6 months old or something. And be like, okay, that's it.
News is good except when it's stale.
Right, except when it's old. Okay, did I put on this? Yeah, okay. So our to-do list for this week is pretty long because it includes all of this amazing stuff about all of our partners. I don't know what, so I think for each of these things, we definitely should add a landing page. I don't know like what else we can do, but let's talk about it again at the next meeting, because I think there's more
Yeah.
like, yeah.
So hopefully by the next meeting, Luke will have created that issue, and maybe we'd sort of like start brainstorming on how to implement that. And
Okay.
by that time, I'll surely add Doxo to our list in the try backdrop thing. I'll do it
Okay.
over the weekend.
What do we call those? Testimonials.
Testimonials, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. Yep, and allow people to sort of like what do you say? Promote themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that will encourage them to promote us. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I know that DDev have even gone out of the way to create a blog post, and I think they either cross-posted it, like they added it to their site and added it to our site, which was how to use DDev or backdrop with DDev.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
We
was
did
good.
that initially with like Civiserum and a bunch of other folks too, but we haven't revisited it in a while. And I think it would be good now that we have all of these new people to like, okay, do a blog post, but let's also give you like a dedicated landing page and, you know, promote whatever they want on the landing page that's like for them. But the blog post should be very specific to like people who might be interested in reading our blog, so that it gets kind of a different spin on both of them. Okay. Anything else for this meeting? We're kind of over time.
No.
Oh my gosh.
We can discuss next time.
Let's wrap up and then we'll jump into the developer meeting shortly.
Yep.
Great ideas.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming. This was an amazing outreach meeting.
All right.
It was.
Bye-bye.